some jump cuts.
I mean, it's an entire production behind the scenes. It's an entire production for this show. But karibuni sana to the program, and thank you. Actually, Jane, you should be taking this.
I was hoping to lip sync, but it's all good. Good morning. How you guys doing? Karibuni to Entertainment Thursday right here on Good Morning Kenya. Jane Wamboy is my name. So glad you are with us this morning. It is a beautiful Thursday morning, the new Friday, Dania Good Morning Kenya. And of course, nothing but a fantastic show coming up for you. We're going to be having a look at the newspapers, and a bit later we're also going to be having our trending topics segment, just looking at those stories that have been, hitting the social media streets with a bang, and getting to share our thoughts with you as you share your thoughts with us about those particular stories. Be sure to stay with us through and through. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much for being a part of this show. My name is Samuel Njoroge. Karibuni sana to the program. This is the only way to start your day, trust me. And we are not just saying that because we need a marketing tagline. We're saying that because that is the experience every Monday to Thursday right here on the show. My name is Samuel Njoroge. It's Entertainment Thursday. We will be cracking up your ribs a bit, courtesy of trending topics. And also, we'll be looking at the dailies this morning. What exactly is in the headlines this Thursday? That is precisely what we shall be doing right here on the show. Karibuni sana to the program. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1 at Sam W. Njoroge, at Ray Manyara, at Jane Wamboy, and at Serena.
It seems that Sam's mic just decided to mute him. Mid-statement there, but that doesn't dull his shine. As you can see, he's representing the Oga Nation this morning here, this morning on Good Morning Kenya. Definitely. I'm Regina Manyara. Glad to have you on board. As we say, Thursday is a new Friday. As far as it's concerned, it's all about entertainment. And also we're going to be hearing from various stakeholders in this show where we want to know, as a parent or a guardian, do you think you're ready to take your child back to school come next month? Are we prepared? That will be coming up in not too long, so glad that you're here. And also we're going to be talking about talent. We have quite an artist who has changed tact and used his, artistry to just get away from the life of crime in the streets. Coming up on Entertainment Thursday. Good morning, Kenya.
You're right. And being Entertainment Thursday, we still are going to be keeping tabs what is happening on our roads and our major roads in terms of traffic. And this morning, I just want us to look at Kenyatta Avenue. This is because there was a statement given yesterday by the NMS boss saying that they are already done with the city center. This is in terms of reconstructing non-motorized transport system, and they want now to embark on the inside the estates. So when will this begin? How long will it take? And which estates have they earmarked for this process to start? That is all we'll be looking at this morning when it comes to matters traffic. And in addition to that, we'll be speaking to two gospel artists. Our focus will be on the evolution of gospel music here in the country. Many thanks for making time. My name is Doreen Arangi.
Well, they're back here. All I was saying is thank you so much for being a part of the show. Good morning, Kenya. It is, and welcome to the program. As my colleagues have just rightly outlined, today it will be a show like no other. We will be taking it all the way up from 0 to 100 very fast, okay? So you need to keep up with us. And it's not just a marketing line. It is our reality right here every Monday to Thursday, beginning 7 a.m. Good morning, Kenya. It is the only way to start your day. Welcome to this experience. My name is Samuel Njoroge.
And that's 0 to 100, the only jump cut that we approve. All right, well, let's have a look at the roads before we get started with the day's programming.
And it's exactly 3 minutes past 7, time for our fast link this morning. Now, what you're seeing on the screen, this is actually the image of Kenyatta Avenue just before you leave the roundabout, going all the way inside the city center. And this is how it's looking like. Actually, this process is already done with. This is a process that is being spearheaded by the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. They began this process inside the city center where they're just reconstructing non-motorized transport system. And what was mentioned yesterday when he was giving his presser, the NMS boss Major Badi, he just said that all of this is in a bid to ensure that pedestrians have easy ways and cyclists can also have easy ways, just to try and reduce the congestion on the major roads, which is normally used by both public and private vehicles. He also mentioned that already inside the city center, this NMT is already complete in the areas which they had earmarked, and now they want to embark on the estates. Now, before we get to more details on which estates they will begin with and how that process will begin and actually when it will be complete, let's just try and look at traffic on this specific area to try and see if at all that has reduced traffic flow, because this is one of the major reasons as to why they are reconstructing this NMT. First is to reduce on the traffic flow, and this is why. When you have a major road whereby it's just used by public, private vehicles as well as pedestrians, then that increases traffic, because it means that the traffic police have to constantly be stopping vehicles just for pedestrians to cross over or to walk, But if you have this NMT put in place, then it ensures that you have designated lanes for vehicles, for pedestrians and for cyclists. But very briefly, let's just look at traffic. On the roundabout, it is like how we'd expect to see. This is one of those major roundabouts here in Kenya and also in the city of Nairobi. This is the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, just before you branch off to where we have, this NMT put in place. But clearly, as of now, in as much as, yes, it is one of those busy roundabouts, in terms of the traffic, doesn't really look that bad. You're seeing a bit of the orange, a bit of the red there. So that, yes, and I'll keep mentioning to you, just again for the benefit of our viewers to understand what these colors means when you see them. Now, the orange just indicates that traffic has begun to slightly build up. So in as much as, yes, it's a couple of minutes past 7, this is how we'd expect this roundabout to be looking like. Like I mentioned, it's one of those busy roundabouts because it comes all the way from Uhuru Highway on the other side of University roundabout, goes all the way to the other side of Uhuru Highway to the next roundabout, which is Haile Selassie Avenue, and it just branches off to the city center. Look at those streets in which also there were ongoing works, such as Wabera Street, coming all the way to the heart of CBD, going all the way to the GPO stage or the bus terminus there. So clearly one of those busy roundabouts. But the beauty of it is that there's no that heavy traffic, gridlock as you leave the roundabout going all the way to the city center. And you can clearly see that from the colors, the green color there, which just indicates that there's no traffic at all, moving pretty fast. On the other lane, as you leave the heart of the city center, leaving Mwindimbingu Street, which is again one of the areas where there was ongoing works. When you leave Wabera Street, as I mentioned, which again also there was recarpeting of that specific road happening sometime a couple of weeks back actually. So again, also on that specific area, coming all the way to the city, to the roundabout as you head over to the other side of the road. That is actually when you leave the city center, going all through. Again, no traffic at all, moving pretty fast this early morning hour. Just a slight gridlock when you're near the roundabout. So again, this actually looks like the whole idea of the reconstruction, the whole idea of recarpeting of this specific route really has served its purpose, because that is why they were doing it anyway. So clearly for us to see what we are seeing, it looks like it's really served its purpose. But past the roundabout, coming all the other side to Uhuru Highway, as you head over to Haile Selassie, it looks like traffic beginning to slightly build up there, and actually on the other side of the road moving at a pretty slow pace. And again, this is why we're seeing that red color there, so indicating that traffic, there, but moving at a pretty slow pace. Now, look at this. So if you are leaving University Way, leaving Uhuru Highway, the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, going to the heart of the city center, then this is really a smooth sailing for you, because there's barely any traffic gridlock. And also, if you are leaving areas such as Ngong, leaving Valley Road, coming all the way to the city center using this specific roundabout, which is the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, coming all the way to the GPO bus terminus, again, it's a smooth sailing for you. And also one interesting bit that I'm spotting here is on this specific area, which is a bus terminus, the GPO stage. Oftentimes would see the kind of heavy traffic, because it's just next to a bus terminus, but clearly as of now there's none of that. And again, also in this area is where we have that, that NMT. So the image I was showing you earlier, actually it is on this specific map. So again, looks like that is serving its purpose. But in the next link up segment, like we always do, we'll be definitely getting some alternative routes, because in as much as the road is looking quite good, but you can just see from the map, traffic beginning to slightly build up. So if this hour it's looking like this, probably the next hour we'll be seeing the heavy kind of traffic. And what that means is that we'll be definitely looking for some good alternative routes, especially for those going to the city center. Now, this morning is a bit of a change, not leaving CBD, but heading all the way to the city center. That is what we'll be doing in the next link-up segment. But as of now, this is how it's looking like in terms of traffic. Our focus this Thursday being on Kenyatta Avenue.
Exactly 9 minutes past 7. That is how major roads are looking. Our Traffic Marshal A1 Doreen Aranga is saying that you're safe if you're headed towards the CBD. So if you've not left the comfort of your home, then you need to get going. Or you can choose to watch this particular program from your tab, www.kbc.co.ke. We are streaming live. Now let us look at those stories that are making headlines. We start off with the copy of the Standard and what the scribes have captured on its front page. Now, no cash, no work. Counties lockdown over money crisis, as well as why we want reggae stopped. I don't know why, but now BBI roadblock. Governance activists moved to court to scuttle Uhuru and Raila's pet project for national unity, claiming that it undermines the substance of the constitution. Big read this morning on the Standard, which happens to be the 17th of 2020, 17th of September. Raila's son, shock verdict on ODM. This was quite a tweet yesterday. It has drawn a lot of attention from different people, or rather what we refer to as Wanjiko on Twitter. Now, friendly fire. Raila Jr. jolts Orange Party into unfamiliar territory with a tweet calling for soul searching, decries loss of values such as accountability, public interest that once defines the movement agenda. Now, party bosses shy away from confronting Junior. That's a heavy statement there. Party bosses shy away from confronting Junior. Here is a tweet, if you didn't get to see it on Twitter. This is what: we as ODM need to find our way back to the basics. We are not just about private jets and slay queens whilst abusing rival politicians. We have a development agenda clearly outlined in our manifesto. Let's focus on service delivery, democratic space, protecting private citizen rights. A tweet by Raila Jr. throwing spanner into the works as far as the ODM party is concerned. A big read on the Standard this morning. Details will be coming up in not too long.
Let's have a look at the Daily Nation, and the main story on the front page this morning is in regards to matters concerning the education sector here in Kenya, with now the new normal coming into play. And here it talks of tough times for learners and teachers, and this comes on the background of the protocols that were issued yesterday by the Ministry of Health in regards to the resumption of schooling in the country. The 5 main rules that were given out by the ministry are here on the front page of the Daily Nation. We will be taking you through them in a bit. Now, this is also posing quite a challenge for most schools, as so many have gone on the socials to complain about this new protocols that have been put in place, saying they are too drastic and too short a time frame for them to be able to put in place all these measures and adhere to what is required before they reopen schools. And still on the front page of the Daily Nation, the cash stalemate now broke counties forced to shut down, with a casual letter, quote unquote, a casual letter by the Senate on ending the revenue sharing stalemate, coupled with House leaders snapping crucial talks, made governors to order a shutdown of cash-strapped counties. And one of the sectors that is going to be affected heavily by this shutting down is the health sector down at the counties, with many of those workers who are working in some of these hospitals having to go home for a 2-week break as a service come to what has been called as a sudden grinding halt. That is what is happening on the front page of the Daily Nation, but still there at the top, their header right there talking of activists wanting court to stop the BBI from changing sections of the Constitution, as well as Chebukati's genius as the agency now wants an audit of its systems and servers for reuse for the 2022 poll. All these details coming up as we get started in this segment.
We're talking about the same servers from 2017, right?
Yep.
Zenye zilikata kufunguliwa.
Yes.
Yep.
Now they're the ones to be audited.
Yep.
Yes.
Welcome to my country.
Yep.
Welcome to our country. Now, the Star this morning, this Thursday, it's all about COVID-19 and whether or not schools should reopen come next month. There's that proposal by the ministry that come next month, schools could be reopening. I don't know what the rush is because it's just October, right? Na watafunga December sijui tarehe ngapi. Actually, see December, October, before the exams.
26th, actually.
Yeah, so that means they have literally 4 weeks. I don't know what syllabus catch-up will happen in 4 weeks. In the meantime, we have to flatten the curve because we've not yet gotten below the 5% infections rate in as far as flattening the COVID curve is concerned. However, the headline in the Star this morning is tough COVID-19 rules in schools reopening plan. And there's a photo there captured by the Star talking about the requirement to create isolation facilities for suspected cases even in schools. But in the meantime, Kenyans have been industrious enough. Guess how? Yeah? They have converted classrooms into pottery houses. I know, take a breather. We're together now because there's a photo here of a school manager inside a classroom. He converted into a pottery house after schools were closed due to COVID-19. This is in Wanguru in Mwea. It had to be either central or western, and no pun intended. But that is the story there given prominence by the Star. No services as counties gear for shutdown. We saw that statement coming forth from the Council of Governors yesterday, where they indicated that non-essential services will grind to a halt, courtesy of the stalemate around division of revenue from the national to devolved units. But I wonder how they classified health as non-essential. It's a conversation we need to have. Okay, Railways Club traders mourn demolitions. This has been ongoing. It's still a story making its way to the Star this morning, but of key interest, and this is the story I will be picking next. Referendum, do we or do we not? Because now ex-Raila Man leads the team in court battle to scuttle BBI. A team of 5. And the ex-Raila Man is economist David D, who is leading the team that has been comprised of James Ngondi, Wanjiko Gekonyo. This is a devolution and constitutional expert. We also have Aikal Anglais. We know her from the rehabilitation of Lake Turkana. We also have Jerotich Sei. She's been on Twitter, especially on KPLC case. And these are some of the people who have moved to court to certify or to seek a certification of urgency behind their application, where they argue that should some of these clauses of the Constitution be touched through this BBI or referendum, then it is tantamount to a violation. That word is very strong. Violation of the Constitution. They're talking about governance structures, and also they go ahead in the course of their application and argue that some of the clauses that have been touched by either Senate or Parliament in the guise of either amendments or enabling legislation have already done enough damage to the 2010 document that has otherwise been touted as progressive. So which way forward now for Chief Justice David Maraga, who is supposed to appoint a team of judges that should listen to this case? These are some of the issues that we shall be laying focus on in the course of coverage of the BBI. Reggae, or is it now reggaeton?
Now talking about reggae and reggaetons, let's now look at, how this reggae is actually taking place in ODM, and it has been started by none other than ODM party leader's son, that is Raila Jr. Now, this is through a tweet, just in case you're wondering, and this is totally uncharacteristic of, ODM leader Raila Odinga's son, that is Raila Jr. And just quoting his tweet that was tweeted today, being the 17th. This was a tweet that he made on the 15th of this month. So we as ODM need to find our way back to basics. We are not just about private jets and slay queens whilst abusing rival politicians. We have a development agenda clearly outlined in our manifesto. Let's focus on service delivery, democratic space, protecting private citizens. That was on the 15th. So 10 hours after that particular tweet, he comes back. Clarification. As an ordinary ODM member, my views are my own and not that of the party. Secondly, I'm grateful for ODM for allowing democratic space in which different views and opinions are exposed. Thirdly, my views are not targeting any leaders, and I apologize for any misunderstanding caused. Now, despite the apology, it seems that analysts have read too much into that particular tweet. Now, according to one political analyst who goes by the name of Martin Olo, he says that ODM had never been known to have a firm stand on the vice, that is issues of graft, and he said that the party was formed as a result of rebellion against the 2005 constitutional change. On the other hand, another analyst has a divergent view, that is Javans Bigambo, who says Raila Jr.'s tweet could have been born out of a discussion he had with one or more members of the party who were not comfortable with the first lane that was not in sync with the strengths of ODM. However, as it stands, it does not help that some ranking members of ODM party have been adversely mentioned in graft, including the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency scandal, which senior party officials have been almost unapologetic about. Now, yesterday, ODM chairman John Badi defended the party's stand on various things, including corruption and abuse of human rights. Now, Raila Jr.'s tweets that have exposed ODM's underbelly. Is this going to affect, the issues of the party, especially ahead running in the 2020 elections? Now, analysts observe that ODM officials have been opening up too many words that could disadvantage the party in the run-up to the 2022 elections. Do you think so?
Big question right there. Now let's move on to the education sector, the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation. And the header there, schools will never be the same again. Why schools will never be the same again for pupils and tutors. Now, just looking at this particular story, it highlights the guidelines that were put in place by the Ministry of Education as we await for the review when it comes to the new proposed date for the reopening of schools, as was directed by the CS right there, where he put together a COVID-19 task force response team to draw up a new date to review the previously put January reopening date for schools. But looking at some of those protocols that were put in place, if you were not able to just catch that particular live coverage, let me just start with briefly going over what has been highlighted here. Number one, on the opening day, schools will be required to provide clean running water at the entrance and common places. Now, the team looking at this, continuing with this particular protocols, is that learners will also be required to wash their hands before entering the school gate, wear face masks, and undergo daily temperature screening. Class teachers will be required to meet the learners who are below the age of 9 at the institution's gate at the start of the day and escort them back at the gate individually for pickup to avoid crowding. Children will not be allowed to, there will not be assemblies. Instead, they will be having mini classroom assemblies. Of course, social distancing in class. There will not be any inter-institution competitions. When it comes to trying to sanitize, every school will be required to buy disinfectants, liquid soap, non-touch thermometers, face masks, and first aid kits. And when it comes to the use of washrooms, the ratio of one washroom where girls are involved is one washroom for every 25 girls and one washroom for every 30 boys when it comes to their usage. Still looking at that is that there will be children will now they'll have to put on masks, and especially for the younger ones who have been anticipating to meet their friends after about 6-month break, it's going to be a bit hard to contain them. There will be no swimming allowed until the Ministry of Health gives a further directive in regards to that. Learners will be split into smaller groups of not more than 4 during breaks, and teachers will be required to monitor their movement at all times. Children will be released to go home immediately after completing their classes, and there will be no provision of mattresses for those who need to sleep during the day. So eating will also be in groups. They will have to, sometimes those who have to eat in the classrooms for their snacks, they will have to resort to that. And this, looking at all these guidelines, guys, and the responsibility that is being placed on the teacher right now, how effective do you think teaching will be if the teacher has to make sure every child has their mask on, to make sure they're distancing, to make sure that they are not sharing masks, especially for kids, to make sure that they are, I have to take each child under 9 to the gate at the end of the day and pick them up in the morning. Isn't this too much on the teacher as well?
Wow.
It's more like daycare
no,
now.
You see, the advantage is we are all parents here, right?
Yeah.
Ukisoma hiyo gazeti, are you convinced, before we even get to the viewer, are we convinced that we should release our children to schools?
You know,
Let's see propaganda.
Looking at the
As
age,
you read all that out,
yeah,
because I'm coming from a point where I'm thinking about the teacher-pupil or the teacher-student ratio, which has been a nightmare. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about infrastructure in schools, which has been a nightmare. I'm talking about releasing a kid who has been imprisoned, quote unquote, for months.
Yeah.
Hizo masks mnasema wata exchange wao wenyewe. They will find a way of playing with them. Okay? I'm not saying that we should not reopen schools. I know, Janet Ouko, you've done an article about the benefits of reopening schools outweighing the risks. But as far as a child is concerned, even if the benefits are 1 million and there is just one risk, I will forget about the 1 million benefits as a parent, not as a host of Good Morning Kenya, as a parent. If there is just 1 or 2 risks that outweigh the 1,000 that could be in existence in as far as the reopening of schools is concerned, then trust me, a majority of the parents will lock their kids in class, at home, and they will prefer what Mushero is saying. We have courses and subjects taught online. And maybe the Jubilee government should, prioritize the laptop project. You remember that laptop project? If only it was implemented to its logical conclusion, some of these conversations are tungekuwa nazo sahi.
And the saddest bit is, especially for parents who have children who are, let's talk about from grade 5 going down. These are hyper children. Toddlers are savage.
Oh, wow.
Toddlers are savage. They are hyperactive, and when you try to, it's like, remember we were having this conversation about being a square trying to fit in a circle. Yeah, this is a literal representation of children from grade 5 going downwards. You cannot contain them, and the fact that you now have to make sure that you social distance them.
How?
Let's talk about the number of classrooms first of all. That means if the school had, like, let's say a stream has 4 classrooms, and you have to ensure that there's a certain number of pupils for every classroom, do you even have enough classrooms to accommodate one stream? Do we have enough teachers to just make sure that this teacher that is supposed to escort every pupil individually, pick them up in the morning and take them back to their exits in the evening, are available? How effective will the teaching be?
For a group of schools, maybe. But for those institutions that still do classes under trees, in some of the marginalized places in this country.
Let's just
We
talk
need to
about
think
public
about
schools
that.
to start with.
And the rate of infection now is moving away from Nairobi and the metropolitan area, and it's getting to counties like Turkana, for example, where we've had issues when it comes to education infrastructure. So what is going to happen there when that problem dawns? Because you cannot experiment with the life of a child. It needs to be clear-cut what they will be doing once they go back to school. And what's the rush, honestly? Wazazi hawajasema wamechoka na watoto. What is the rush? Just do your groundwork, make sure everything is in place before you tell me to release my child to you, because 70% of their 24-hour day will be spent out there at a place where I have no control over my child. I'll be handing them over to someone. So kindly, it's not just a question about a headline. It's not a question about let's get back to class. It's a question of having the right protocol to get the kids back to class. We are not in a hurry to get them back.
Chris.
We are not in a hurry to get them back. We are not even saying government has failed us for having us have our kids in school at home for months. No, we are simply saying, even if you will tell me there are 1 million benefits towards a kid going back to school, so long as there is 1 or 2 risks,
Take the university students. It's
and
fine. They
our
can control
college,
themselves.
Actually,
They can
open
control
high
themselves.
schools
Yes.
and secondary schools.
Primary schools.
Primary.
Now, that particular conversation is what is going to be shaping our interactive segment in not too long on hashtag KBC Kids Talk. We want to know from a parent's or a guardian point of view then, do you think you would be taking your child back to school come October? Remember, these details that we have just shared, as Sam and Jane have highlighted, are just some of the information that we're getting from a particular report that has been dubbed Guidelines on Health and Safety Protocols for Reopening of Basic Education Institutions amid COVID-19 pandemic. Remember, this committee that has been set up has to beat the deadline on Saturday and provide finer details on how this particular issue of reopening is going to entail. But we're going to be coming up and putting that into perspective where we are inviting your views as a parent, as a student, and as a people. Are you comfortable with going back to school in October? For now, we take a short break. When we return, we're going to be speaking to that and so much more in as far as news stories are concerned.
This Thursday on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
Kwa nyumbani kwake, Jane alitueleza kuwa safari ya matibabu ya Beyond Zero ilitimiza ndoto yake. Mama huyo mwenye umri wa miaka 38 ambaye ana watoto 5 alikuwa ametembea kutoka kituo kimoja cha afya hadi kingine akitafuta matibabu kabla ya kupata usaidizi kutoka kwa kambi ya matibabu ya Beyond Zero mwaka jana.
Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Yote ndawaidu iko tu sawa kwa macho yako.
Unataka kuwapo?
Ati nini? Why are you people shouting?
Are you okay?
Mwanamke ninakuona sana. Ni wanaume hapa Mombasa wameisha.
Ni nini mbaya? Nowadays we have so many unfaithful people.
What?
We need to talk about her every time we are together.
And be very careful the way you address me.
Zako zinakuangaje? Huwezi kaa dakika mbili hata bila kuteta.
You will all sign new contracts.
And I am supposed to be briefed.
What?
Taki ujinga.
Oof.
Next on.
Ethiopia is here.
That baby is annoying and she just can't stop.
Natafuta a job.
Job gani?
Yoyote as long as nalipwa. So what would be your expectations if I hired you? Me and your family are not in the same social class.
Well, you're pilot.
Oh, really? Your mom is very schemy. How so? What do you think, Jazz? It's Nancy we're talking about. Hi.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Do we look like the two dumbest guys in the world to you?
In this town, you don't mess with the law.
You know how fast you were going?
65.
63.
The law messes with you.
Isn't the speed limit 65?
Yeah, it is.
I'm freaking out, man.
Oh. Give me a double bacon cheeseburger. Double bacon cheeseburger. It's for a cop.
They're coming back, man!
Pull the vehicle over.
I'm already pulled over.
Pull over farther, man.
I can't pull over. Sir, I'm already pulled over.
He's already pulled over. He can't pull over any farther.
Super Troopers.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Hiyo pia ni ngumu kwa sababu maji kama sai tunachota maji huko chini. Na ukienda huko kibuyu moja hii ya 20 lita utalipishwa shilingi 5.
So unapata sisi wenyewe tuko hapa hivi tunauza maji mtungi 20 lita tunauza 2 bob, ninakwenda na 5 lita. So 25 lita tunauza 2 bob. 10 ya 15 tunauza bob. But yet sisi wenyewe tunauza but yenyewe hatubambiki. Kwa zenyewe tunasikia government ikisema ni free na yenyewe unajua inaweza kuwa ni mbaya sana kama government inasema ni free na sisi wenyewe tunauza, unacheki. But sikupenda kwetu.
Now, a few minutes past 7:30, let's take a look at our next link in terms of traffic. Remember, I had mentioned that today we strictly focus on Kenyatta Avenue, and this is because at least the completion of the work in terms of NMT is already done on that specific route. But before I tell you more about that, let's just briefly look at traffic. And I'm seeing a bit of a change. This is actually slightly past the roundabouts. This is actually when you leave Valley Road, coming all the way to the city center using the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. That's just where there's traffic building up. In fact, it's just at a standstill. Look at that. That is how that color is looking like, which is the maroon. This is actually on that lane that goes all the way to the roundabout, leaving areas of Langata, Valley Road, Ngong Road, coming all the way to the city center using Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. On the other lane, so the one leaving CBD heading to those areas that I just mentioned, it's really moving at a pretty fast pace. No traffic at all. And that is why we're seeing that green color. But then again, this is one of those busy areas, specifically on this lane that heads all the way to the roundabout. So what we are seeing is basically what we'd expect to see. And if you can remember, that is why earlier on I was saying if at all you are using this specific route going about your businesses around the city or even from the CBD to whatever place, then you know that hour was the best time. But even at that, still doesn't look that bad because it looks like there's nothing that has changed much around the roundabout. It's still traffic slightly building up, and this is again why we're seeing the orange color there. That is just what it means. So it's barely any kind of heavy kind of traffic build up there. So at least looks like a manageable kind of traffic. So again, if you're coming from Wayaki Way, through University roundabout, coming all the way to Kenyatta Avenue, heading all the way to Haile Selassie or even the city center, or even all the way to Mombasa Road, then doesn't really look that bad for you. On this specific roundabout, moving pretty fast, barely any heavy kind of traffic build up there. But just as you get to the roundabout, you may have to make a bit do with the traffic next, just nearing the roundabout. This is still along Uhuru Highway because on this specific lane, it's moving at a really, really slow pace. On the other one, though, moving pretty fast. Now, when you look at this lane, this is actually leaving the roundabout and leaving all the way from the CBD, leaving Valley Road, leaving Haile Selassie, heading all the way to University Way, all the way to Wayaki Way, and also the other side of City Center. So if you're using this specific lane, then it's just a smooth sailing, barely any kind of heavy traffic build up, just traffic beginning to slightly build up there. On the other stretch, that's just where there's an unmanageable kind of traffic. But then again, look at this. This has just changed right now, leaving Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, going all the way to Haile Selassie, still using Uhuru Highway, not moving at all, at a standstill. But remember, earlier on I mentioned to you that this is one of those busy stretches, just coming all the way from Kenyatta Avenue, looking at Uhuru Highway, all these roundabouts along this highway. So clearly, again, what you're seeing is what you'd expect to see. But let's just briefly branch off to Kenyatta Avenue. Again, doesn't really look that bad. So it has changed a bit, because earlier on it was just a manageable kind of traffic, but now it's moving at a pretty slow pace on this lane that is actually leaving City Center as you head over to the roundabout. The one leaving the roundabout, things are still the same. And I'll still say again, if you're coming to the City Center from those areas that I just mentioned earlier, it's still a smooth sailing for you. Nothing has changed. Green all through, indicating that there's no traffic at all, moving pretty fast, going all the way to the City Center. And again, I will insist that it looks like, those ongoing works are really serving their purpose, because again, that was the major reason as to why they embarked on that, project of ensuring that we have non-motorized transport system, at least reduce on the traffic flow. And again, it looks like that is really serving its purpose, because right now it's just green all through, especially when you get to the City Center. Still looking at those areas where there was recarpeting happening. That is again next to Abera Street, next to Mwindi Mbingu, also again at the heart of the City Center. Barely any kind of heavy traffic. This is actually the Wabera Street. Look at that, green all through as you head over to the City Center, and also leaving CBD, coming all the way to the other side of Kenyatta Avenue, which is our focus. Actually, in areas where there's traffic around this route, is just a manageable kind of traffic, and that's why we're seeing a bit of the orange color there. So clearly, again, moving pretty fast. And also I will mention, if you're coming to the City Center, then it's just a smooth sailing for you. Then it just looks like we don't need to have to look at some alternative routes for those coming to the CBD, because as of now, moving pretty fast. And that is how traffic is looking like this morning hour around Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, and also just branching off from the roundabout, going to the other side of Kenyatta Avenue. Now, what we will do is that in the next link up segment, I will be telling you the areas that have been earmarked actually inside the estates, where the NMS is planning to at least ensure that they also put up the NMT the way they have done in the heart of the city center, and how that process will be coming along, and also how long it will take. That is exactly what we'll be doing in the next link up segment. But as of now, if you're told you're coming to the city center, smooth sailing for you, no traffic at all. That is how our roads are looking like in terms of traffic, our focus still being on Kenyatta Avenue.
Welcome back with the 19 minutes to go. Let us continue with this particular segment in the headlines, but do share with us your thoughts using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, and the official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Now let's move on to the Daily Nation and look at this particular story about the IEBC when it comes to the reuse of the 2017 poll materials. Now, according to a document, a tender document that the IEBC put out yesterday, they say that they want an audit done to see, to just make sure that they want the voter registration system and servers to be audited as the first steps when it comes to actualizing the plan to reuse the 2017 materials for the 2022 polls, saying that, and I quote this, that the auditors who are going to be given these tenders will be required to look at the preventative and curative maintenance to check what needs to be corrected in its biometric voter registration and system, and the service provider will be required to carry out a complete investigation and diagnosis of the BVR servers, infrastructures and storage hardware, and submit a status report. That is just part of that particular tender document, what it says. Now, looking at those particular machines, the IEBC bought the 4 billion Kenya Integrated Electronic Management Systems for voter registration, identification, results transmission, and candidates management plan for 4 billion shillings, mind you, and it did not pay for the voter registration option, but instead used the BVR kits that were procured back in 2013. Now, looking at the softwares that were not procured because they decided to go with the laptop-based BVR which are now considered obsolete, that is why they are looking to have a tender given out to a service provider who is going to just relook at these materials that were used in 2017 to ensure that we are on track when it comes to the reusability of these materials that were used for 2017 so that they can be used for 2022. Sam, I know you have something to say about that.
No, like I just hold my breath.
Humble pie.
we just had Viewpoint yesterday. We discussed these political issues. But if it's a question of auditing, if that is going to help us deliver a credible poll come 2022, why not? But we know some of these issues are just but an event away. And then we move on swiftly. Most likely in 2022, the issues that we were covering as challenges and hiccups with 2017 will still resurface in 2022. I thought Chebukati said he cannot review boundaries and he cannot do what is required of him because he's incapacitated to do that. Wasn't that the rhetoric a month ago? What has changed now, Mr. Chebukati, that you can afford to do an audit?
You know, my question is, why do we do the same things and expect different results?
Talking about results, Huduma number phase 2.
Oh, wow. I was waiting for that one.
Corner.
Yes.
Now, government says it will start distributing the Huduma number cards by the end of June next year, and that is according to Interior Principal Secretary there, Karanja Kibisho. Now, at least 37.7 million Kenyans registered for the cards. Now, he says that some Kenyans resisted the registration during the first phase in April and May last year. And he says that the data of the 14 million Kenyans who have registered have been cleaned and merged, awaiting adjudication. Cleaned and merged, awaiting adjudication. Now, the program, we all know, faced a lot of numerous challenges, including apprehension from Kenyans. So now we're going to be rolling out the second phase that is going to be targeting the rest of about 100 million Kenyans who now have a chance to register for this Huduma number. There have been a lot of questions about why we're doing the same thing, expecting different results. And talking about results, I wonder, will the apprehension be toned down? Is it going to be acceptable now to register for the Huduma number, given what is happening, especially within the political scene? Anyway, you'll be the judge of that. If you didn't register in April and May, then you have an opportunity to register for the Huduma number. And that, Huduma number cards will be distributed by the end of next year, June. There have been a lot of questions. This has drawn a lot of debate on social media, yeah? Huduma number round 2. Now, still talking about, what Kenya's government is doing is that the U.S. military seeks to expand the anti-terror drone war to Kenya. Yes, you heard right. Now, the U.S. military of Africa is pressing for a new authority to carry out armed drone strikes targeting Al-Shabaab fighters in portions of Kenya and potentially expanding the war zone across the border from their sanctuaries in Somalia. Now, these new plans actually prompted a lot of reactions online with a push for that extended authority, tracing back to an attack, in January at the military base in Lamu.
Yeah, I remember that. Actually, it was the headline story on the 1st or the 2nd of January. It was rather unfortunate. I remember I was anchoring that evening and I had to open the news with that story, which is rather unfortunate. But if that will be a step in the right direction, why not?
That is it. Because now some of the details that are emerging from that particular from officials is that the Kenyan government will, however, have the consent to any strike. A major difference from Somalia, whose provisional government has essentially given the U.S. a blanket permission to carry out strikes when it sees fit. Now, Kenya will be in control of that, and the American military would also have to consult with the U.S. ambassador in Kenya.
Matters of national security. Maybe the three of us do not have the necessary clearance to discuss them on national television.
Yes.
So let them do they, we do us.
Yes.
Okay? Talking about the show. Ladies, have you ever heard of a guy called Rusesabagina or Rusesabagina?
Endelea tu, hatujui kama una pronounce correct.
All right. He's Rwandese, and he was one of the main actors in Hotel Rwanda.
Ah, yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
He was one of those.
Yes.
And since then, pundits have argued that he has exaggerated his heroism to a point of even compromising stability of Rwanda. And this gentleman now could be facing 25 years in prison.
What are the specifics of
I
those
saw that he was
You
actually
saw that?
picked.
It's actually covered in the Star this morning. They're talking about Hotel Rwanda hero could face life in prison. And this particular gentleman, his name is Rusesabagina, declined to respond to the charges leveled on him on Monday, saying he wanted to take plea to each individual count. And what are some of the counts that have been leveled against him? That he once called for an armed resistance to the government through a YouTube video and was charged in a Kigali court on Monday, courtesy of this particular offense. Other charges that have been leveled against him include terrorism, complicity in murder, and forming or joining an irregular armed group. And for some of these crimes, as per the spokesperson of the government of Rwanda, he could be facing up to 25 years. That is for just individual counts. So if they're all, you know, summed up together, this gentleman could be serving life in prison. It is a piece that has been done by the Star this morning, talking about this man who once was a hero in Hollywood in 1994 when you know, in other words, when they were depicting the 1994 genocide through Hotel Rwanda. I believe we've all watched that movie, right, ladies? We have?
Yes.
Yeah, so Rusesabagina could be facing life in prison, courtesy of these charges leveled against him. And at one point, this was an Oscar-nominated film. So it's just not any mean feat. It is quite a thing, especially when it comes to the creatives. But hey, this is not a political case. That is what the Rwandese government argues. No matter who you are, no matter what your caliber in society is, you mess up, okay, with the cosmic balance of government,
You gotta pay.
we catch up with you real fast.
You know what
But
I
it's
think?
a sad story because really he has the talent.
You see, the family said that he's being harassed. Remember, he was actually taken back from Rwanda, taken back to Rwanda where he's facing those charges. And we all know what happens when, you know, you get into that situation. We heard the opposition leader and the family, the lady, I can't quite pronounce her name, and her family has been fighting for that particular peace accord within, you know, Rwanda's borders. Well, I don't know. All I can say is that Hotel Rwanda was quite an epic film. It reminds me of Sometimes in April. That was another one. I've never gotten a case of cold and flu while watching a film than those particular two, Hotel Rwanda and Sometimes in April. Took me way back when I was a child and I was watching Sarafina. To date, I still cringe when they shoot crocodile in that film.
But Ray, when you talk about way back,
that's way back, man.
Unajua
That's over 10
tumekwama
years.
hapo pa way back.
That's 10 years back.
Tunasikia nika 40 years ago.
But that's way back.
Wow. So it's 40 years ago?
No.
Let's work with 15.
That's way back.
Unaona niko katikati sitaki kurushiwa mawe.
That's a teenager we're talking about.
We level with what you're saying though.
Tafadhali.
Kabisa.
But then this speaks to the power that we hold, that we never really understand how much damage or good it can do, depending on what we choose to do, that we may think does not really affect anyone out there. But you know, what I share is my own opinion, what I think is my own opinion. But really, you are setting an agenda looking at the power that you hold in the society.
Yeah. It's only in Kenya where controversy pays, by the way. These things of 5 things Samuel Njoroge does when he's not on air, number 3 will shock you. They only sell here. I would try that in Uganda.
My friend.
Himself.
That's us. I think we thrive with controversy. We miss the bigger picture.
What bleeds, leads.
We
So
end
they
up
say.
making a lot of mistakes, you know, especially when it comes to governance and leadership, because as Sam said last week, or rather early this week, yes, the louder the person is, the more he or she is appropriate to be chosen or elected a leader here within the local space.
What bleeds,
leads.
And actually now that we're talking about that, as far as the star is concerned, Nani has done a piece.
Nani?
Caroline Motuko.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And she says, actually it's right here. She's done a piece in the Star this morning. It's all about stay true to you. Motuko in letter to younger self. Me, I feel like, okay, not me, I beg your pardon. It's too early to speak bad English, but this should probably be one of our topics during trending topics, right, ladies? Like those things we would change or we would have done differently if
you could go back in time.
Our current self is given an opportunity to go back to our younger selves, right? But stay true to yourself. I've always said this, Mother Nature will reward you more once you're true to yourself. Don't be a phony, don't be a fake, don't be average, be you, and see how Mother Nature responds.
She's fair?
Yeah, she's so fair. And she sees things that probably you're able to hide from everyone else. But guess what? It is what it is. So be true to yourself. But that piece could be coming your way during trending topics. You at a staguza side.
You'll give us the juice of it as we get into that particular segment.
I'll give you the juice of it as we get to the TTs, trending topics of the day.
I know we all have that incident or that thing that happened a number of years back. You look back and you're like, good.
What was that all about?
Yeah, if you knew better, you would have done different. But then again, you wouldn't be where you are today if that didn't happen. So, double-edged sword again.
Ray, you don't want to take it up from here?
About being true to self?
Yeah.
Well, there are lessons that you learn over the years, over time. Unfortunately, these are not lessons that will be taught within a classroom. These are things you have to learn on your own.
Have to, keyword.
You have to learn these lessons
School
on
of hard
your
knocks.
own. You see, so if I was to address the younger version of me, you know, the child in me, there's so many things I am learning to unlearn. Yes?
And relearn.
And relearn. So I'm dropping stuff that I thought was truth and picking up something that before I thought this was not possible. So I think it's something that we all have to go through, and no one can do it for you. It has to come through you, for you. Change is from within, not without. Yes, you have to agree to can.
And if you can't can, you have to can. Because canting to can
is not an option.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is what makes hanging out when you're a grown-up more interesting, because you sit around that table and you have
true,
you know, conversations that will change and thrive you, conversations that will get you to the next level. And as you grow older, you sort of develop this lethargy towards
mediocrity.
Thank you. I was trying to be polite, but thank you, Regina, for leading the way. Mediocrity and settling for average. You sort of develop this thing whereby, and it's up to you whether you want to respond to it or not, but it comes. And when it comes, I pray that you get the wisdom to recognize that wewe ushaomoka as far as maturity is concerned. So it's up to you to embrace and grow and make sure that you make the right decisions for you and for the future you. Okay? Trust me, it's not every day you're 19. It's not every day you're 25. It's not every day you're 30. It's not every day you're 50. So make it count when it lasts.
Over the last few months, I have learned and embraced a statement that may not be politically correct. However, never let a monkey make a monkey out of you.
And you know something else I've also learned, especially during these COVID-19 times, that there's so many unaware and, for lack of a better word, stupid people. It's just that COVID, they're asymptomatic. Hawajajua bado. It is what it is. It is what it is. They're just asymptomatic. They're not showing the signs, but they're out there. Choose your side and choose it wisely. That's our canon call to you this morning.
Now,
it's 2 minutes to the top of the hour. We should be taking a break.
Yes, we'll be taking that short break, but in return, we're going to be talking about the guidelines to inform reopening of schools. That is, we are going back to resumption of face-to-face learning. Are we ready? What's your take as a parent, as a guardian, as a student, and as a pupil? We'll be right back. We welcome your feedback.
This Thursday on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
Nyumbani kwake Jen alitueleza kuwa safari ya matibabu ya Beyond Zero ilitimiza ndoto yake. Mama huyo mwenye umri wa miaka 38 ambaye ana watoto 5 alikuwa ametembea kutoka kituo kimoja cha afya hadi kingine akitafuta matibabu kabla ya kupata usaidizi kutoka kwa kambi ya matibabu ya Beyond Zero mwaka jana.
Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
People gonna say all kind of things about you.
When your booty got show me now.
Baby, one time, bossy baby, give me 2 times.
Full 180, crazy.
Trago y ella la botella. Let's go.
Ha, I needed some with some bop in it.
Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Choro, 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 choro. Te pago, te pago, mo, te pago.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya.
On the next episode of
salamu ya mwisho wa mukata.
Na mkata nani?
Kwa kwenda hujamkata mtu. Ajue hapa kuna mbali.
Kuna nini mlango? Kuna nini huko ndani?
Next on.
Ethiopia is here. That baby is annoying. And she just can't stop.
Natafuta job.
Job gani?
Yoyote as long as nalipwa.
So what would be your expectations if I hired you?
Me and your family are not in the same social class.
Well, ni pilot.
Oh, really? Your mom is very schemy.
How so?
What do you think, Jazz? It's Nancy we're talking about. Hi.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutatengeza sabuni na bidhaa zingine za matumizi pale nyumbani. Kisha tujuzwe uzuri wa kilimo cha greenhouse.
Greenhouse ni kilimo bora, kilimo ambacho kilikuwa kikifanyika kitambo, lakini watu wengi hawakuwa wanajua manufaa yake.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Listen, I tell you the kind of conversations that happen off air. But anyway, it is time for our next link. In terms of traffic, you want to see how the roads are looking like this hour. Try to look at some alternative routes if at all we'll have to. But before we get to do that, let me just recap a bit of what has been happening, especially in the city center in terms of reconstruction, and also just give you a bit of what was said, by the NMS boss yesterday. But before we get to do that, I want to show you that image of Kenyatta Avenue. This is actually, if I can call, the first phase of the ongoing road works by the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. This is actually an image of Kenyatta Avenue leaving the roundabout. What he mentioned yesterday is that this works is already done with. So that means, opened up to the public, of which it was already opened up to the public, just using the cyclist lanes as well as pedestrian walkways. But I want to mention something in which he said yesterday while he was giving a presser trying to tell us which other areas this NMT works will continue happening. He said that the reason as to why they embarked on this project is first of all to minimize on the traffic flow and also just to reduce on accidents, because I remember I was mentioning to you earlier that when we use the main road for both vehicles, and this is inclusive of public and private, and at the same time still pedestrians tend to using this road as well as cyclists, and it becomes instrumental. This is what actually leads to the kind of accidents we witness, and also traffic flow because the traffic police oftentimes have to stop vehicles for pedestrians just to walk through, or even just to use this specific routes. But now with NMT put in place, that just simply means that there's 3 lanes on our roads and all of them are designated. And just from what you're spotting on our image, at the farthest end, that is actually the lane that is for vehicles, and again, public and private. At the center, that is the lane for pedestrians, and you can just see also people just walking through that specific lane. And this other lane on the other side, that is the one for cyclists. So it makes it easier for people to know which areas, which specific routes to use. It makes it easier for vehicles to also know which, routes to use. But again, one of the downsides that has come with this NMT process is having car owners parking on this, lanes that have been designated or earmarked for pedestrians and cyclists. But again, this is one thing that they're trying to address. And also the second downside that has come with this is having business business operators using this specific lanes for their businesses, and this just goes to the small scale business traders who sometimes tend to use these specific lanes that have been put in place for pedestrians and cyclists for their businesses. But again, also this is one thing that they will address. Now, when it comes to inside the estates, the first place in which they have begun this project is actually in Lunga Lunga Road, and if you can remember, we were checking what was happening on that specific route yesterday. That's why when I mentioned that when they began this NMT process inside the estates, or even just recarpeting and expansion of roads, that is where they've begun that process. And again, when I say inside the estates, because that specific route caters for, you know, those estates coming all the way from Donholm, all the way from Outer Ring, all the way from Mukuru kwa Ruben, Mukuru kwa Njenga, all the way to Likoni Road. And again, that is what we were looking at yesterday. So this is an ongoing process, you know, being spearheaded by the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. At least, if I can call this phase one of, you know, this works being complete, at least they have already done that, and they're still continuing with other processes of recarpeting of roads, as well as ensuring that any new road that has been earmarked for reconstruction, NMT, is put in place. Now, let's come back to traffic very briefly for this hour, try to see if again that has still served its purpose, or at all things are changing a bit. But looks like it's just still the same, but something has changed, and this is specifically, I just want to touch a bit on that lane that is leaving the roundabout as you head over to the heart of the city center. Look at this. This has totally changed. It wasn't so in the first link as well as the second one. If you can remember, from the roundabout going all the way to the heart of the city center or the CBD, it was just green all through, indicating that there was no traffic at all. But now things have totally changed, and traffic has begun to just slightly build up on that specific lane. So again, it still doesn't mean that you have to make do that traffic, because it's a manageable kind of traffic. And also, at least around this roundabout, I can say for sure that oftentimes the traffic police are normally there just trying to see how best they can control traffic, and probably this is why we're not seeing that kind of, you know, heavy kind of traffic build up just at a standstill or so. But at least as of now, in as much as traffic is there past the roundabout, unlike the first two links, at least it is still a manageable kind of traffic. But the sad part is that in as much as, yes, it's manageable, it actually goes all the way to the city center. Look at that, orange all through past the roundabout, coming all the way to Kenyatta Avenue on the other side, just before you get to inside the city. Traffic building up all through on that particular lane, as well as also leaving city center, coming again all the way to the other side of Kenyatta Avenue through the roundabout. Traffic also building up, but just before you near the roundabout, smooth sailing again all through. Now look at this specific area where you're seeing a bit of orange there. This is actually next to GPO, you know, coming all the way from Valley Road again through the roundabout, from Ngong Road, from Kenyatta, still coming all the way to the city center. But what you're seeing on this specific area, this is just near the GPO stage, or if you may, the GPO bus terminus. What we are seeing is basically what you'd expect to see, because it is just next to a bus terminus. So again, traffic building up there is clearly, you know, the reason as to why it is because it's next to a bus terminus. But again, look at this. Things have changed altogether past, leaving the city center, still coming through the roundabout. And again, remember, I keep telling you traffic changes every single minute, because look at this. On this specific lane, there was no traffic at all. But right now, it is just at a standstill. So also what that means is that if you are coming from city center using Kenyatta Avenue through the roundabout, going to the other side of Uhuru Highway, as well as also the other side as you head over to University, where then you'll have to make do with that traffic there. But then again, it has changed, you know, moving at a pretty fast pace. That's why I keep saying traffic changes every single minute, because right now it has just changed this very single second, and at least it has opened up. So again, moving pretty fast. So the gridlock that was there, which was at a standstill, has at least opened up. So that means also a smooth sailing for you, leaving that specific area, coming to the other side of Uhuru Highway, going all the way to Haile Selassie, as well as just coming from that side through the roundabout, going to the other side of, as you head over to Valley Road, actually still moving pretty fast, barely any kind of traffic. But where traffic just looks to be at a standstill is as you leave that same area, which is coming all the way from V Road through the roundabout. On that specific stretch, just before you near the roundabout, again, traffic at a standstill. So this again means if you're coming from those areas that I just mentioned, then you'll have to make do with that traffic there, because clearly just from also what you're spotting on our map, on this specific stretch, stretch, there's no alternative route, so that means you'll have to make do with that traffic there. But let's look a bit on what is happening on the other side of Uhuru Highway, because also on this stretch there still were ongoing works which is also already complete and opened up to the public. But coming to this stretch on the other side of Uhuru Highway, just before you near the Haile Selassie Avenue roundabout, actually on the entire stretch, you know, traffic just building up. But remember, I said it is the early morning hours, so also basically what we're seeing is what we'd expect to see. And this is just as you come all the way from the roundabout, coming, you know, still through Uhuru, through Uhuru Highway before you get to Haile Selassie Avenue roundabout, building up of traffic. In fact, in some parts, it's just at a standstill, meaning it's not moving at all. In some others, moving pretty slowly, just on some specific areas where it's beginning to slightly build up. But on major parts of this stretch or this highway, traffic really building up. But again, the sad part is that there's no any other alternative route. If at all you're going to areas of either Haile Selassie going to either Nyayo Stadium roundabout on the other side of Mombasa Road, or even just branching off from Haile Selassie going to Upper Hill. But again, also just sticking a bit with that roundabout, it's looking a bit different from how Kenyatta Avenue was looking like, because rightly as of now, you know, just building up all through, and in fact on major parts of this roundabout just at a standstill. So this is how it's looking like this hour, and just like I mentioned, it looks like we don't have to look at some alternative routes, because again on these stretches there's barely any of that. But as of now, when it comes to matters traffic, this is how our roads are looking like this hour.
Hoya, 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 hoya.
Vicky Fundes.
Nilichopata nikiomba walisema kitakwisha, nikitoa shukurani hadharani wakasema najigamba. Hao binadamu walinipa wiki, sasa imepita miaka bado wanasubiri. Kazi ya Mungu haina makosa. Ingekuwa binadamu wanatoa ningekosa. Sio juju, ni maombi, ni maombi. Si kelele, ni maombi, ni maombi. Sio juju, ni maombi, ni maombi. Si kelele, ni maombi, ni maombi. Hoya, 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 hoya. Na mikono nitainua, magoti nipige, nimweleze jinsi alivyotenda katika maisha yangu. Kazi ya Mungu haina makosa. Ingekuwa binadamu wanatoa ningekosa. Kazi ya Mungu kweli haina makosa. Ingekuwa binadamu wanatoa ningekosa. Sio juju, ni maombi, ni maombi. Si kelele, ni maombi, ni maombi. Sio juju, ni maombi, ni maombi. Si kelele, ni maombi, ni maombi. Maneno ya wanadamu yalinilenga kama mishale, ila Mungu hawezi kubali uanguke. Alichoanzisha leo lazima atakamilisha. Kazi ya Mungu haina makosa. Ingekuwa binadamu wanatoa ningekosa. Kazi ya Mungu kweli haina makosa. Ingekuwa binadamu wanatoa ningekosa. Sio juju, ni maombi, ni maombi. Si kelele, ni maombi, ni maombi. Sio juju, ni maombi, ni maombi. Si kelele, ni maombi, ni maombi. Si uchawi, ni maombi. Oh, si ulevi, ni maombi. Si kwa nguvu zangu mie, ni maombi. Si kanadi ya katamu, ni maombi. Oh, ni maombi. Oh, ni maombi, ni maombi. makosa. Ingekuwa binadamu wanatoa ningekosa.
They say love is a beautiful thing, ila kwako imekulemea, sababu ni wewe. Jua inanichoma kibandani. Why just treat me right, I give anything you need. I'll be your one and only. Why just treat me right, I give anything you need, baby. Nilizaliwa Migori, mambo ya uzunguni sielewi. Kidogo nachopata baby, usivimbe ipokee. Hata tukila umena, usiseme sio sawa. Sio sawa, I'm a high class girl, bila hiyo sio sawa. Baby itakuwa sawa. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Na madini classic. Sina visenti ukweli, ila kitandani hatari ya kukudenja. Usiniache baridi kipenzi, si unajua maana sio sawa. Nataka niwe na wewe, lakini no romance without finance. Nalo gumu kipenzi, I'm a high class girl. Chonde chonde mami, usije niacha kilema wa mapenzi. Taratibu baby, njoo twende sawa. Chonde chonde daddy, I don't wanna be a slave in love. Fika baby basi, hata tukila umena, usiseme sio sawa. Sio sawa, I'm a high class girl, bila hiyo sio sawa. Baby itakuwa sawa. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Chonde chonde mami, usije niacha kilema wa mapenzi. Taratibu baby, njoo twende sawa. Chonde chonde daddy, I don't wanna be a slave in love. Fika baby basi, basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Nami nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Basi nielewe nilivyo, nilivyo, nilivyo. Yeah.
Now that was just a bit of entertainment right here on Good Morning Kenya. Being Thursday, it's all about entertainment, and now we're delving into our interactive segment where we have hashtag KBC Kids Talk. And this morning we're talking about what has been trending over the last 3 days is now the issue of reopening of schools and the resumption of face-to-face learning come next month. Now the committee has a deadline of Saturday to be that particular deadline and release more guidelines, finer details of the guidelines that are going to inform the resumption of face-to-face learning. Question is, as a parent, guardian, pupil and student, are you ready to go back to school next month? Do you feel safe, or Do you have other things or other recommendations to make you feel comfortable within that learning space? Now, some of the measures include that schools to buy disinfectants, liquid soaps, non-touch thermometers, face masks, and first aid kits. Temperatures monitoring should be done to all learners, teachers, and support staff every morning, with every school required to have designated room for use as a sick bay in the case of presumed COVID-19 cases. The last 24 hours, Kenya confirmed 92 new cases, and 3 more succumbed to the deadly virus. Now, these are some of the measures that have been laid out by the ministry to guide the conduct of teachers, learners, workers, as well as parents. This morning, I'm joined by various stakeholders, parents, guardians, and also people within the value chain. And we're also going to be having candidates, peoples, to just take part in this conversation. As you can see, they're there on our screen, ready to give their views in regard to the proposed reopening and resumption of face-to-face learning. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. Now, just if you are not in this particular meeting, remember you can still participate and give us your views in regard to this particular issue. Our station Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Ray Manyara. My colleagues is at Doreen Arange, at Jane Wamboi, at Sam W. Njoroge. Get tweeting. Give us your feedback. What is your take? Are we ready to resume face-to-face learning in light of COVID-19 pandemic? Now, to start us off in this conversation is none other than, let me start off at the top there with Timothy Ekese, who is the Executive Director of KAK. Good morning, Timothy.
Good morning to you, Regina.
Now, in a nutshell, come next month, are you ready to take your children back to school?
That is the $6 million question this morning. And as we read through the papers say it's never going to be the same for the children. It's never going to be the same for the teachers. I don't think we are ready to take children to school. Maybe the committee might be ready, but we are not ready, because we hear things through the newspapers. There is no much awareness that has been created why children should go back to school. The same CS told us that health is more important than education. Lives are more important than education. I don't know what has happened that now education is becoming a crisis for the last 6 months. So I don't think the children are ready. From what I get from our stakeholders around, many of them are saying they are all they're hearing is rumors, but there are no plans that have been put in place. Remember, Regina, from March, we've been discussing this issue and saying, from March, what have we been doing to prepare to go back to school? And as far as we know, it's about maybe the committees.
Now, Timothy Okesa, it seems that you're not getting your feed clearly, but thank you for opening up this particular conversation. We take a short break, but when we return, we're still going to be focusing on that particular conversation. As a parent and a guardian, are you ready to send back your pupil or student come next month in some of the proposed reopening dates and the resumption of face-to-face? A short break, we return.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I'm hoping this ash has having an effect on you, Dharma.
Is anyone there? Please help me.
Ashok! What is happening to me, Ashok? Where is this sound coming from? This unbearable noise, Ashok!
Their demand, they will definitely kill him. And we wanted from the very beginning that Ashok be removed.
Mother, I am the Regent King!
This attitude of yours will make you ineligible to stay as a Regent King, Sushi.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Beyond Zero Safari that we had last year was a milestone, and it gave us a good opening for us to give out even ourselves and the services, the health services, because the turn-up was good.
Children born with disabilities deserve to be protected. And today, the National Council of People with Disability is registering children so that we can ensure families who need support can benefit through the government social protection program.
Every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
On the next episode of
Salamu ya mwisho wa mukata.
Na mkata nani?
Kwa kwenda hujamkata mtu. Ajue hapa kuna mbali.
Kuna nini mwangu? Kuna nini huko ndani?
Lapyo. Akiangana na lapyo kapita. Na ndio mwa itutubia mama.
Tujali kazi zenu.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I hope that was a rhetorical question, Margot. We don't have time to waste today.
Hey, Atito, and who do you think you are to talk to fellow students like that?
I can talk to you idiots the way I please. I am now in charge.
Tija, what are those? What do you mean, what are those? I've taught this many times, I can't have lost count. Hey, Mr. Teacher, maybe you taught that on another class.
Nonsense inside that trouser. You think you can put us around as you please?
Ne, Atito Japuru. We copy exams together always. So you think you can teach us what exactly?
You know, you're so full of yourself, you know that? Huh? This hard head of yours is going to be your downfall.
And now you are talking.
Yes, I'm talking, and it's regression, not regression.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Do we look like the two dumbest guys in the world to you?
In this town, you don't mess with the law.
You know how fast you were going?
65.
63.
The law messes with you.
Isn't the speed limit 65?
Yeah, it is.
I'm freaking out, man.
Oh! Give me a double bacon cheeseburger.
Double bacon cheeseburger, it's for a cop.
They're coming back, man!
Pull over farther, man!
I can't
pull over. Sir, I'm already pulled over!
He's already pulled over! He can't pull over any farther!
Super Troopers.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
People are now out of their comfort zones because without everything is normal. You know, like you wake up, you go to work, you come back, and then you're satisfied. But now that satisfaction is not there anymore.
It's really amazing because businesses are now moving to where their clients are. If you wait for clients to come to you, it's no longer working. She has created jobs.
5 jobs.
5 jobs
in COVID.
During COVID season. Yes. Who's employing during COVID? People are laying people off.
Good morning. Glad you could still keep us company right here on Good Morning Kenya. It is Entertainment Thursday, and we're talking about the new rules as schools prepare for the reopening. Proposed dates are in October that is next month in October. So as a parent, guardian, pupil and student, are you ready to go back to school? Are we ready for the resumption of face-to-face learning? Now, receiving your comments on Twitter, we have Godfrey Mwangi at Mr. Muragori, who says, nah, January 2021. At the same time, we had our first guest joining us live from Nairobi via Zoom, Timothy Ekesa, who is the Executive Director of CAC, saying, as parents, we are not ready to take our children back to school. The children are also not ready. There has been no awareness at the grassroots level. We only get to hear the new development every day on the media. What is your feedback in regard to this issue? Now, joining me is Mary Geshoke from Nairobi to also weigh in today's conversation. Good morning, Mary, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning, Kenya, and thank you for having me.
Great. What is your take in regard to this particular debate where we might have, resumption of schools, rather resumption of face-to-face learning come next month? Are we ready?
I have mixed feelings. I'm a finalist in one of the universities in Kenya. I had only remembered my final exam, so I would really want to go and clear my exams, but then again,
kindly, Mary, we are having a bit of interruption from your end. Kindly just mute everyone else who is already in the mute. Kindly mute your mic so that we can get to properly hear what Mary has to say in terms of adjusting her sound. So if you're not on for the meeting, kindly have your mic on mute for better service delivery. Now back to you, Mary. You were saying?
I was saying I'm a finalist in one of the universities in Kenya. So there's nothing I would love more than going back to school and finalizing.
Now it seems we still have a bit of interference in your sound there, Mary, but we've heard you there. You're saying you're in your final year in university, and from what we've heard is that you'd want to go back and complete your learning. But we'll still be getting back to you once we get that audio ready and proper. Now we cross over and invite our next guest. That is Mabel from Kajiado County. Good morning, Mabel. How are you?
Good morning, Regina. How are you?
I'm great. What is your take in regard to this particular issue that you're discussing this morning?
Well, I'd say that we are not prepared to go yet back to school. The ministry could be prepared. They could be wanting to push us to go back to school, but then as parents and as students, we are not yet prepared to go back to school.
Mm-hmm. So in your as a parent or as a guardian, then would you be sending your child back to school?
Definitely not.
Why not? Tell us now. Give us in detail why you feel as a parent that you would not be open to sending your child back to school come October.
The risks that are coming with sending my kid back to school are actually way too high. As you can see from other nations, I think we need to learn from the other nations that sent their kids to school too early. We know what has happened to them. We know the rate of the kids went really high, and the kids are now, the schools are closed, the kids are home, and the kids, so many of them got infected, and some unfortunately had to lose their lives. And so for me as a parent, as a guardian, I honestly wouldn't want to send my kid to school, because back in school, kids will always be kids. There's a picture that has been trending on social media that a kid goes to school, I send my kid to school, and another parent sends their kid to school, and then at the end of the day, the kid will come home with a different mask that they didn't go to school with in the morning. So with such incidences, I'm not sure if my child will be safe.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me just throw something, spanner to the works in this conversation, Mabel. Now, some of the guidelines that have already been made public is that boarding schools will be optional, allowing parents to enroll their children in day schools. What's your take on that?
Sorry?
One of the guidelines that has been made public is that the boarding school will now be optional, allowing parents to enroll their children in day school. As a parent, what are your thoughts?
I think that is fine. If they choose to go that way, if the ministry chooses to go that way, that is fine. Because anyway, since education began in Kenya, boarding school and day school has always been an option. Parents are always allowed to choose where to take their kids. So I don't think that really has a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, just for example, if I was attending boarding school in Mombasa, I am in class 7. And now there's an option for I to do day school. I reside in Kajiado.
Yes.
Yeah. Now those are things. I remember that this is a committee that is set to give the finer details in regard to its proposals or the guidelines to guide the resumption of face-to-face learning. Thank you very much, Mabel. We'll be coming back to you just as we continue this conversation. Now, crossing all the way to Mombasa County, to Rebecca Acheng. Good morning, Rebecca, and glad to have you on board.
Good morning to you. My name is Rebecca from Mombasa County.
What is your take in regard to the proposed school reopening next month?
Well, I think my proposal is the government is very ready as it sees, because with them they're seeing that teachers are just at home, they're being paid, but they're not doing anything. But again, when you come to the community, the parents are not ready because the moment it was announced that children are not supposed to go to school, there are those who already used the school fees that was planned to pay for the second term or even third term. So to them, currently they don't have that fees again to take the children back to school. And also because I work with the organization, and many times we interact with these adolescent girls, and sometimes we talk to them, and it's like they're still not ready to go to school at this moment because there are a lot of things that are on board that are not very clear. First of all, for example, in a public school, for example, a class has a total of 70 pupils or students. So, so for these children to be in a position where there is social distancing and maintaining all these rules and guidelines for the county government or for the government that has put in place, there's a lot that needs to be done. So if the government feels it's ready, remember the parents are not ready, the pupils are not ready, and how sure are we that all these guidelines are going to be followed? Because children are children, and when they go back to school, there is that mismatch. They are going to hug each other, they are going to socialize as usual because they miss each other. So the moment they still need, there's need for sensitizations for them to be told what is expected of them before going back to school. For this timeline, October is very soon for them to be sensitized on all these guidelines and rules that are there.
October is too soon. Children are children. They may swap face masks, and besides, some parents saying that they've already spent money that they had earmarked for school. So, hakuna pesa. Haya. But let's still hear from our next guest weighing in this conversation. We have Judith. Judith from Kajiado County. Give us a brief introduction of who you are, how old, and what you think about the proposed dates.
I'm Judith Tinyari from Kajiado County. I'm in class 8, 14 years old. To me, to open schools on October, children are not ready to open school in October because, as Rebecca Achenga said, that the children will swap their masks and they'll come home, some of them with the masks that they did not have when they went to school. And plus October, the candidates will go back to school, but then go back, and December it's holiday when it will not make a change. It's better we open school next year when we'll finish school, not going back and going forth from school, and then we close, we open again. Yes.
But now, Judy, you've said that you are a candidate, and some of these proposals that have been put out is just to enable those who are to sit for their KCSE as well as their KCP get to have get to do their examinations. As a candidate, aren't you feeling that this is the right time to go back to school so that you finish your exams, or are you okay with just starting over in January 2021? Sorry.
I'm okay with 2021 because when you go back to school after a long time like this without reading, you might find hard time in doing your examinations well, and when KCP comes, you may fail.
Thank you very much, Judy, live from Kajiado, who is a candidate aged 14, saying that she is comfortable taking her exams next year. There is no need to rush into resumption of face-to-face learning come next month. Now, let's hear from a parent, Mr. Wamboi Mwaura. Wamboi Mwaura, good morning. How are you? Wamboi Mwaura, we're waiting up for you. Good morning. Good morning. Well, it seems that you can't get to hear us here in studio. Now we go back to Timothy Kessa, who first started us with this conversation, saying that there's no full communication in regard to how the protocols and guidelines are going to be met. Now, Timothy, throwing it back to you as a parent and a person who works within the children's, working with children, then what do you think we need to do to ensure that our schools are ready for the resumption of face-to-face learning, given that the committee have until Saturday to give us final details? What would you want captured?
I think one prepared, the same way we prepare to close, we also need to prepare to open the schools. And as Judith and the other participants have said, opening school is not just saying close, open, close, open. I can tell you right now that we can learn from other countries. So there's a country in Southern Africa, I'll name it. They have opened it 5 times from July, because they open, then they get a case, they close, they open. As we say right now, actually, they are waiting again to open on the 1st of October. And the problem is that they actually did not take time to prepare, because right now, say after children going back to school. First of all, we have in this country. You talked about boarding school being optional, but it's not an optional. There are some children who live in Mombasa and they school in Busi. There are some children who live in Turkana and they school in Obviously, the Turkana who I was talking to yesterday.
Now that is Timothy there, Kesa, just weighing in on this conversation where we're saying we're not ready, echoing what the students there who have come on board. Well, those in the tertiary institutions, one being Merige Shoke, saying that she's a final year student at a university and she wants to go and finish off her year. On the other hand, candidate Judith Ntinyari, who is 14 years old, says that she doesn't mind waiting up until January when everything has been put in place to ensure that once face-to-face learning resumes, that she and the other students are going to be safe. What is your take in regard to the new rules as schools prepare for reopening? The committee has a deadline of Saturday that is supposed to share with the guidelines on health and safety protocols before the resumption of basic education amid the COVID-19 pandemic. This committee is yet to give us final details come Saturday. Are you comfortable taking your child back to school in October? Weighing in on this conversation is Leshore. Good morning. Good morning, Leshore. What is your take in regard to where we are with the current proposal of resumption of face-to-face learning come next month?
I think the committee that was formed to work on the safely returning of children to school has given its proposal. Still realistic in terms of reopening, because it has to look at the issues of safety of children, and safety starts even from the day of reporting, where our children will all get to matatus, and us will be working, will all converge in a school. These are some of the schools that may have very high sort of populations. So how will you be able to control and prevent the infection? And these children are coming away from homes. Now, talking about Kajiado County, which is characterized by nomadic setup and poor infrastructure, in access. Some schools cannot access water, leave alone the desks. How will these children and especially be able to control in these schools to water sources? Some of the sources are even contaminated, because some of the water sources that these schools rely on are used by both human beings and
Now, it seems we're having a bit of, static there, disruption of that particular interview, or rather guest. As we work on that technical side of things, let us look at the feedback that we are receiving on Twitter. Now, Machuka Benjamin says, our health is paramount. I'm not yet convinced by government's preparation towards the reopening of schools because structures are not in place. Tembea mashinani mujione. Thank you very much for your feedback there. Then Limpaso says absolutely he is agreeing to what one of our guests said there, is that the schools are underprepared to deal with the current, stipulated health protocols. That is Mr. Limpaso says absolutely. Thank you very much, Limpaso. Now crossing, still sampling more of your views and retake from one of our guests this morning, who happens to be a Class 8 candidate in an otherwise if were it not for the pandemic, she would have already sat for her exams, or rather she would have been ready to sit for exams. That is none other than Judith Ntinyari, who is 14 years old, and she says, I'm in Class 8 and I prefer that we resume school next year so that we have smooth transition as learners. If we rush to do the exams, we might not perform well. Remember, the government, Kenya, we already have now two different systems of learning. We have the 844 system that is kindly just waiting off. She falls into that particular bracket, while the CBC is already in place. She says she's comfortable with next year. What is your take? Are we ready to take back our children back to school come next month? As a parent, as a guardian, would you be considering that? And if you're not open to such, then what is the reason behind your reluctance? Now, just to share some of the guidelines that have been so far been made public, is that on the issue of libraries and labs, learners will be expected to, at any given time, always be in observance of social distancing of at least 1 meter. Offices and staff rooms should not be congested, and staff must also maintain social distancing. This brings the question to then public institutions, public schools where there's a high population of learners within that particular setup. What happens? Remember, we have highlighted, as a media has highlighted, schools where the students and pupils are learning under the trees. They do not have any desks to speak of. They share one washroom. Are we ready to change this before October? Can we change all this before October? Highlighting what our last recent guest, that is Mr. Leshore, because before he got cut off from Kajiado, is saying that the structures have not been set in place to support, the health protocols that have been laid out, as we continue waiting for the committee's recommendation or guidelines ahead of Saturday's deadline. This comes at a time when Kenya records 92 new cases of COVID-19 and 3 succumbed to the deadly virus. That is according to a report that we received 24 hours ago. Remember, we are still in the thick of things, with different functions saying that Wanjiko has gone back to normalcy, yet things are not normal yet. Now, the documents also spell out specific measures that will be put in place to address social distancing. Now, we're still waiting for a guest to log in. We're having a bit of an internet issue on our end. We had prepared a small feature just highlighting, issues of talent, how children are keeping themselves busy during this COVID-19 pandemic. For this particular story, this is a young man who is using art to just advocate for proactiveness among the youth, moving away from crime. He is a former street urchin who has decided to change things and for the better. He also doubles up as a child labor free, an anti-child labor ambassador. That introducing Fulgence Rabach. Here is his story.
It's through those small things that build up someone. It takes a small seed to bring a tree. So in this talent of yours, you can use it to bring something good And remember, the tree with fruits is the one that is being beaten.
Fulgence Rabat opted for art to get himself off the streets.
Like my whole life, since from my background, like from the streets until where I am today, I was just drawing, and though not career thing, I was just like drawing, placing them on the walls, yeah. So this is the thing I've been doing like since childhood.
Years later, he dares to dream of being a renowned visual artist.
So like from Kisumu School, I want to do fine arts and teaching, so that I can teach others art. Yeah, so like I want to pursue this career.
Using the grider method, he has made a few remarkable pieces.
Drawing, as you can see, it depends on the type of drawing you're doing. But for me, I use the grids method, whereby you do the boxes thing. The grids help you to make it clearer and focus on the dimensions, so that the eyes won't be bigger than the nose, and like everything is equal.
Coming from an artistic background, he mentors fellow youth and is an advocate for proactive lifestyle, among them away from crime.
My mom knows a bit of designing, so like I think it's in the blood, but due to my life back there, the street thing, being there, I wanted to like use this art to remove my brothers who are still in the streets, my sisters who are in the streets, anyone that need, from that need, with this art of mine to come to where I am today, at least, so that we can make Kenya a better place, Kisumu a better place, Nairobi, you know.
For Fulgence, art is a talent he is willing to explore and not child labor.
Okay, no one is born rich, no one is also born poor, but luckily enough, I wasn't born rich. So when we were still in Nyalenda, when we were still like there, we used to do horrible things still to survive. Yeah, so there we had neighbors, and those neighbors were my brothers whom I grew up with. So I want to like live a better life to earn something so that I can get them out of that life.
Fulgence inspires confidence in the future and not the past.
I've had that opportunity to interact with other kids, tell them that majoring on your talent, working on it, is not child labor. It's something that can help you to survive. Also in this time of pandemic, the corona thing, there's no one is lucky. Not everyone is lucky to get a white-collar job. Some of us depend on this talent that we have. So I think it has helped me a lot. Yeah, mostly to interact with those kids and explain to them the benefits of arts, me being one of the artists. Fulgence Richie, you can find me on Facebook at Fulgence Richie. You can find me on Instagram on Fulgence Richie. Or Fulgence, Fulgence.
Regina Manyara reporting for Good Morning Kenya.
Fulgence Rabat, and just to show, this is what he picked off from my Facebook account. That's me, posted on some few months ago actually, and this is the result. Pencil drawn. Yeah, you can find him on Instagram at Fulgence Rabat, on Facebook too, and just support raw talent and change, and change his dynamics in as far as life is concerned. That's my pencil portrait there. This is pencil. If I was to take a rubber, an eraser, it would actually come off. How about raw talent? Youth there redefining themselves and what they have to do during, this COVID-19 pandemic that has disrupted learning. A time when we're talking about issues of resumption of school. Where then do we place the issue of talent? It's a high time you and I supported the young and those who have talent. Fulgence Rabat there. Now, just as we come to a close to this conversation, bringing this conversation to a close, we're talking about the proposed new rules as schools prepare to reopen. Now, details are contained in the Ministry of Education document that is dubbed Guidelines on Health and Safety Protocols for Reopening of Basic Education Institutions Amid COVID-19 Pandemic. Now, The Education Response Committee is working to beat the Saturday deadline when they are expected to submit the final details of the school's reopening. Now, the proposals will be adopted the next week on Monday when the national education stakeholders meet. Now, according to Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha, he has admitted that implementing this proposal in schools will be a challenge and hinted that the government may rely on face masks for each learner to lessen the impact. Are you ready to send your child back to school come next month? Get tweeting. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Ray Manyara. We have Jane Wamboi and at Sam W. Njoroge. We take a short break. When we return, we're going to be talking about talent, art, and entertainment. Do not go away. I'm Regina Manyara.
Mbona unanipikia yako tu simu zai? Kwanza pasti yako imefika ama imepita? Kama imepita na huku niita, tafadhali shishiki simu yako. Lakini kama pato ichafika na ukushu utaniita, nitashika. Nitakamatako tu zai. Kuwa mpole, be sorry.
Kupata birthday, bonyeza star 811 star 962 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 962 hash.
This Thursday on KBC Channel 1 for a program that is objective and offers answers to matters economic, security, social, political, food, infrastructure, and setting the agenda. Join us for Charging Currents.
Kwa nyumbani kwake, Jen alitueleza kuwa safari ya matibabu ya Beyond Zero ilitimiza ndoto yake. Mama huyo mwenye umri wa miaka 38 ambaye ana watoto 5 alikuwa ametembea kutoka kituo kimoja cha afya hadi kingine akitafuta matibabu kabla ya kupata usaidizi kutoka kwa kambi ya matibabu ya Beyond Zero mwaka jana.
Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Next on
Unapata wanawake wengi kwa sasa ni ngumu sana kupata makazi ama ni ngumu sana kuruhusiwa kwenda kufanya makazi. Mwanamke akiolewa unapata ni ngumu sana mume wake kumpa ruhusa aende akafanye kazi. Kisa na sababu ni nini?
Mwanamke wa Kiislamu anapaswa kuwa na elimu ya dini na ya dunia. Kama alivyosema Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, talabul ilm faridhatun ala kulli muslim. Yani kumaanisha kutafuta elimu ni lazima kwa kila binadamu ambaye ni Muislamu.
On the next episode of
salamu ya mwisho wa mukata.
Na mkata nani?
Kwa kwenda hujamkata mtu. Aliye hapa kuna mbaya.
Kuna nini mwangu? Kuna nini huko ndani?
Labda akiangana na labda kapita. Na ndio mwa YouTube ya mama.
Tujali kazi zenu.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutatengeza sabuni na bidhaa zingine za matumizi pale nyumbani. Kisha tujuzwe uzuri wa kilimo cha greenhouse.
Greenhouse ni kilimo bora, kilimo ambacho kilikuwa kikifanyika kitambo, lakini watu wengi hawakuwa wanajua manufaa yake.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. Good morning, Kenya continues. Time for our last conversation this Thursday morning, being Entertainment Thursday. We want to delve deeper into matters entertainment, our focus being on gospel music right now. We want to just briefly understand the evolution of gospel music here in the country. And joining me on set this Thursday is a very fine gospel artist, female gospel artist. That is Francisca Njau on the other side of studio. Francisca, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm well. I bless the Lord.
You are well and you bless the Lord.
Yeah.
All right, just before we get to your journey very briefly, I want us to understand the basics, because oftentimes there's this conversation of, when you talk about gospel, what exactly do we mean? It's like there's no clear understanding of what gospel is, because sometimes someone will say, for me to be a gospel musician, then you know, as long as the song talks about God, then it's gospel. As long as it's inspiration, then it's gospel. So very briefly, just make us understand, when you talk about gospel, what exactly are we talking about?
According to my understanding,
Yes.
and according to the word of God, to me, I understand gospel as something that is glorifying God, speaking about Christ, and something that you are not glorifying yourself with it, but you are glorifying the name of the Lord. So your music is about God, it's about Jesus, it's about the Holy Spirit. When you come out of yourself and you begin speaking about the Lord, and your focus becomes the Lord himself.
All right, so it's more of your focus being speaking about the Lord, talking about God.
Yeah.
Okay, then where do we draw the line? Because sometimes someone will call themselves a gospel artist, others will call themselves a gospel minister. Just again, from your perspective, Francisca, what is the difference?
According to me, I think the difference is the Bible says that we shall know them by their fruits. And by reasoning, you are able to tell. I want to believe, like, the reason as to why you are asking the question is that is because you've also listened and you can tell. So according to me, when you listen, you can tell. When the song is speaking about Christ and people are drawn to him, and when the song maybe is speaking about oneself or drawing people to a person per se, and not to the Lord. So according to me, when you listen, you can tell. Yeah.
When you listen, you can tell that is a drawing factor.
Yes.
So what would you describe yourself? A gospel artist, a gospel minister?
A gospel minister.
A gospel minister.
Yes.
Fair enough. Now let's come to your music journey. Your latest single, Uabudiwe, just tell us a bit about that and the inspiration behind that specific song.
The inspiration behind this song to me is God himself, yeah? I got this song last year around the month of August when I was very sick. I was very sick. I had an attack on my legs. I couldn't walk, like for 3 months. And I stayed in the house for 5 months before I left the house. And then the Lord began ministering to me about worship, you know. And the Lord began defining to me, worship is when we minister to the Lord in and out of season, despite circumstances and situations. And the Lord began speaking to me about Job. We all know the story about Job, what he went through, you know, but in the midst of the so many things he went through, he never lost his focus. You know, when it came to worshiping the Lord, he realized that naked he came and naked he was to go back to the Lord. And so he chose to worship the Lord despite the many things that he was going around. And so I think the Lord was putting a challenge in my heart. You know, are you able to worship me even when you are going through what you are going through? Because the Lord has not called us to worship him for the good and not the bad. You know, because he changes not. Even when situations are hard, they are bad, they are speaking negative things, they are speaking what you don't want, your ears don't want to hear. The nature of God doesn't change. And so that's how I got the song, that I was called to worship the Lord in and out of season.
Okay.
I was sick, I was going through challenges,
Wow.
but the Lord had not changed.
Wow. And
Yeah.
I mean, Francisca, you're saying that very passionately, just given the fact that actually this song was more of a testimony,
Yeah.
you know, to you. And we'll be playing that song in a beat. But I also want us to understand, again, just for the benefit of our viewers to better understand what goes into composing your songs, because this is not your only song. You have a couple of other songs. So what is the process like? I mean, just paint for us a picture.
I love God passionately.
Okay.
As in, I just love God. And I usually tell myself that I know I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect and I'm so good, but I love God passionately. So that's how I get songs. You know, meditating about Him, thinking about Him, seeing what He can do, you know, by the reason of seeing His creation. That's the inspiration behind my songs.
Wow.
That's
So-
how I get to see God.
All right, so basically what you're saying and what I'm getting from you is that the inspiration behind your songs is just a clear love for God.
Yes.
And, you know, again, just let me just get your perspective on this very briefly, because that statement has made me, you know, want to think, is that probably what is lacking right now in our current gospel artists? Because, again, there's always those questions of, I can't quite see the message, you know, it's like this thing is just entertaining, but it's not like edifying, of which it just begs the question of, as of now, has the need to entertain overshadowed the need to edify when it comes to the current gospel artists that we have right now or of this generation?
I think I would say that you can't give what you don't have.
Okay.
You only give what you have. So what we see is as a result of what people have.
Okay.
I think that's how I can put it.
All right.
Yes.
What we see is as a result of what people have.
Yes.
So if they are entertaining us, that is what they have.
Yes.
If they're giving us something that is edifying, that is what they have.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about this perspective of female gospel artists are not consistent in this capacity? That you would hear them probably for a year, then the next 2 years they are off, then they come back again. What are your thoughts in regards to this?
Female artists?
Yes. Or female musicians or female ministers, whichever best suits you.
I'll put it this way. When it comes to us women, I'm one of them, yeah?
Yeah.
And I've been there. I want to also believe I've not been.
So you've been there actually, that
Yes.
capacity of being on and off.
Yes.
So it's, okay, wait. So it's more like a true statement?
Yes and no, because one, we must understand that when it comes to a woman, there's a lot that we carry, yeah? A lot. Like now, when you become a mother, that's a ministry by itself. You get? So you must have a break, yasi, maybe to cater for that at the moment. So I think these breaks at times, you see with female women, I can't tell them. You must also understand that we have diversities of so many things that we do. So as much as ministry is one thing, there are so many other ministries that we do outside singing.
All right, now Francisca will be coming with you in a bit, but I want us to hear your song that you just rightly explained to us the inspiration behind it, and that is Uwabudiwe. Mr. Director, let's just have that latest song from Francisca, Uwabudiwe. Do we have it ready?
Watawala kwa hekima. kutisha. Ulinganishwi na yeyote.
All right, and that is Francisca's latest song, Uabudiwe. Such a nice tune. Francisca, such a great tune there, right?
Thank you.
Okay, now, just as we try to wrap the conversation up, do you have any other songs? Because, you know, this is one that I just came across. Do you have other written, recorded songs?
Yes, I have done many songs.
You have done many songs?
Many songs.
So that means you've been in the game for a while?
Yes.
Okay.
This is like my third album. So I'm doing singles, but I have 2 albums.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about collabos? Any?
No.
No? Why? You know, for an artist who's been there for a while, oftentimes you'd hear, you know, I've done this with this person, I've worked with this person, I'm doing this project with this person. So for you, why not?
Maybe the next project.
In the next project?
Yes.
So if you were to do a collabo with an artist, which artist would you pick and why?
There are so many, but for this moment, I don't want to single out one. Because I'm working on it, yeah? Yes.
So you can't single one because you're working on it.
Yes.
Now let's talk about a bit about your writing, at least to understand. Do you write your own songs?
Yes, I do.
So that means there's no artist who's ever written for you a song. No. Then do you feel like we need then to get to that space of, you know, and this just goes to the gospel ministers or even artists, get that space where an artist who knows that they can't quite write good songs, but they can sing well, then they need to collaborate and get someone who can write for them. Because sometimes there's that aspect of an artist just wants to get all the limelight, all the fame. So they will do everything knowing very well that they're not quite good in this particular capacity. What is your feel on that?
Like you can't sing, yeah?
Yeah, you can sing. Yeah, but you can't write quite well.
You can't write?
Yeah.
I think it's quite in order because we are gifted differently. Yeah? There are people who really cannot write, but when it comes to singing, they can really sing. So I don't see an issue with that as long as the motive behind that is again to worship the Lord and to minister to the Lord. I don't see an issue.
So the whole idea is about the right motive.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Francisca, just as we wind up, what are your future projects? What should we expect from you as a gospel minister?
Every time I think about that, yeah, there's a verse that always ministers to me. Yeah? The Bible says that at one point, Paul was saying that we live a life that is worth our calling. Yeah? And so my greatest desire is that I may live that life. Yeah? Not only today, but even as I continue and in future, I live a life that is worth my calling, that every time people hear me sing the gospel music, they will hear the Lord and they will be ministered to. To me, that's my hunger and my thirst today and even in future. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well said. And thank you very much, Francisca, for coming through this morning, talking to us about your personal journey and, you know, just to better understand again from a female voice, the evolution of gospel music. Asante sana.
Thank you.
All right. Now that has been Francisca Njau talking to us again about just the evolution of gospel music as well as her personal journey. We'll be coming back with yet another interview, again from a female artist. But right now, we want to take a very short musical break, so stay with us. We'll be right back with that.
Wewe ni mfalme wa wafalme.
right. Being entertainment, as they will still continue to delve deeper into matters of entertainment. But right now, we want to shift gears from gospel to secular. And right now on set is Misty herself. Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
So who's Misty in general?
Misty is a two-time award-winning artist from the coast.
Award-winning artist?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got my first award in 2010. Then my second award, I got it in 2012. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey because from Malkia Wapwani, there's a new title, Rais wa Anasa.
You know, I'm just listening to you and I can feel like you just have some kind of confidence. Is this like part of what comes with being an artist? You know, the kind of confidence and energy, girl?
You know, my musical journey actually began in church. So in church, you get an experience.
Pause. Yeah. Then you change?
Not really change. Because the kind of music I'm doing right now is more like inspirational music, what you really face from day to day. And most of it is about your feelings. And church isn't really the best place to talk about maybe some love details that maybe the secular world gives you a moment to share that. Yeah.
So you say that you're saying that the secular world gives you, is it, what should I say, like more freedom to do that?
There's more freedom because church is a bit reserved and courtesy of some religious
And
beliefs.
you are more expressive.
Absolutely.
Clearly you're more expressive. All right, you said that you are a female artist from Coast. Now there's this narrative of if you are not in Nairobi, then it's pretty hard for you to make it, especially in the arts world, and specifically being a musician. Do you agree with that?
I'd like to differ with that because you can make it anywhere. I think it's just about what are you bringing on the table. As long as it's good music. I mean, take a look at music from Mexico, for example. We sing the Despacito things and we don't even understand, or even Congo down to Africa. So I think good music really sells itself. And music has changed. It's not like when the music industry started in Kenya, we had all the best producers in Nairobi, the capital, you know. So right now we have these many producers in different counties, which is allowing us to like explore our music, and you can travel anywhere. You can make it from anywhere. Yes.
Wow, I like what you're saying, T, that you can make it anywhere, and that dispels all the fact that you have to be in a specific zone, in a specific place to just make it.
No.
All right, so
you
anywhere,
really don't need to.
As long as you have good stuff.
Yes, like, I mean, take a look at my song Mobobe. I managed to do it with a little bit of German, English, Congolese, and Dolo, and a little bit of Swahili. And it's something that took Europe by storm, courtesy of, this is just an African girl who's never been to Europe, but they're listening to it, they're buying it on Amazon. So I think you can really make it from anywhere.
Okay, you can really make it from anywhere. Now, you've said something which I think is very interesting, that, you know, that song that you're just describing, that you mixed the Luo, German, English, Swahili. So in general, how would you describe your style then?
My style is Afro-urban.
Okay.
Yes. And maybe I'll just call it Tierralicious because sometimes...
Tierralicious?
Yes,
well,
absolutely Tierralicious because it's my thing and I get to experiment with everything because for me, music is a matter of expression, and whatever you express yourself in, be it the genre, be it what and what, but I tend to like mix this and that to get something different because I don't go with this is just what is trending. I just create something that is mine.
Now, I'd want us to come to your latest single in a bit, but I was reading an article about you, and it was just saying that you know, being a mom has actually taught you many things, among them being responsible. And I'd like to understand, in what way?
You know, sometimes in life you would be a bit hasty with things that happen to you, but then when you have these little angels, and before they begin to communicate to you and tell you, Mama, I'm hungry, or I'm not feeling well, you will learn how to be patient. Once you're a parent, you just see your child and maybe they're too noisy, they're crying and what. They just humble you and then you feel like somebody needs me. So it teaches you to understand even when somebody is nagging and they can communicate, you learn how to tolerate them. So I must say, for me, motherhood has been a real experience. Yeah.
Real experience. Okay, what about your support system? Who would you say has been your greatest support system? Because you're not just any kind of artist. You've been here for a while.
Absolutely.
I saw like a couple of your songs even from 10 years ago. So what has really been your greatest support system?
From the beginning, it was my family. I moved on. It was my ex-husband, which turned out not to be quite well. But as it is of now, it's my current husband who's been really supportive, because sometimes even after delivery, as a woman, you get into, maybe you could go into depression after that.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody strong by your side, they remind you of who you are, that you're just not a mom only, you're not just my woman, but you are a career woman. Let's go do this. So he pushes me, and I love that kind of support system.
Wow.
And besides that, there's also that pressure you get from your fans, and they're like, hey, where is the next song? When is the next song? You're so lost. Hey, I'm here.
You're here. So you're saying that, your greatest support system has been family.
Yes, family.
So then that really means that, it's really important for us to constantly be holding on to family, because oftentimes a good number of artists will say, my dad, my mom, my brother, just the way you're saying, your husband. So family really is key.
Family really is key, because you stay with your family 24/7. There is no way there is no day that they will not be a part of you. So as long as they understand who you are and what you do, that's the best support system you need.
All right. Now, I wouldn't want us to finish this conversation without talking about your music a bit, but I want us to start with Mtaniroga, because this is like one of those songs that more like, should I say, like put you there, out there, like on the limelight, So I want you to, just describe for us that song, the whole idea behind it, because it's one of like your really, what should I say, like famous songs? Tell us.
Well, Mtaniroga, you won't believe me when I say it, but it was a real big risk, because I've never done anything that kind of style. I've never rapped. I'm so used to musical things, like I sing and I sing, take care of my great vocal range. But on this kind of track, my creative director, DJ Elon, just got me out of my comfort zone. He just said, let's experiment on this. We have this Gengeton fever, and we want to change this brand, and let's see how this comes out. And I was kind of scared, because I was telling him, what if it goes out there and then I look so ghetto, and it's not my thing, because it's not
like
style.
your style.
It's not my style at all. So I said, you will take all the blame. If they say it's wrong, you'll take all the blame.
If something goes left, it's all on you.
Yeah. But then, to my surprise, people were like, wow, so there's this other boy side of you? I'm like, yeah. I was just experimenting.
This other side of you are just experimenting, and it turned out quite like how you didn't expect.
Exactly.
Okay, so that is probably what makes it a hit song for you, if you can say.
Oh, yes.
Now, again, there's this other song also, like from back in the day. I was just watching this video, I was like, where is this even you? Wangu Milele. It's like from 10 years ago.
Oh my, I had the natural hair.
Yeah.
Only the lip gloss and wanja.
There was no like makeup, no braids done. It was like, is this really tea?
Those were humble beginnings, and let me tell you,
everyone
I was
has that.
19.
Everyone has that.
Yes. I was only 19, trying to really, make my parents believe in me, that this thing is in me, trying to be sexy, because at that time we were watching Racy, So I'm like, I don't know even what sexy is, but I'm trying.
She was your icon.
Yeah, she was my icon for a very long time, because I wanted to come out with a Swahili, Swahili music, and show people that actually singing Swahili is something modern. It's not ushamba. There's a point whereby it looked like only English can sell you. But I wanted to make Swahili look like the real thing and the real ideal thing that people should do. Yeah.
Wow. Then again, also, T, there's this conversation of it's very difficult for female artists to make it in music, regardless of whether it's a gospel artist, secular, doing inspirational, whatever kind of songs or, whatever kind of music. Has that really been the case for you, seeing that you're a female artist?
Yeah, there's several challenges as a female artist, but I think it's also how you carry out yourself and what you can take and what you cannot take. So once you have those things put in place, then you know what to do. But then it's really challenging for the female artist because, first of all, she's attractive and she calls on to all kind of signals through anyone. But once you know your principles that guide you, then I think it's easy for you to decide what you want to do.
Okay, so what I'm getting from you is that it's a question of identity.
Identity.
Knowing yourself,
your
knowing what
principles.
you want,
Absolutely.
where are you going, understanding and
That's what
putting
I'm
your
talking
goals
about.
very clear. Okay,
Mm.
now what about your foundation? You also have, is it Golden Heart Foundation?
Yes.
Talk to us a bit about that.
You know, we are in this new normal that which are terrible times right now, courtesy of COVID-19. So I realized we have so many people who have lost their jobs and they don't know where to get their next meal. And our government is trying, but maybe they can't do the best. They need also us guys from the private sector maybe to try some more for our neighbors. So I came up with this initiative courtesy of, I realized we have TRG funds, and I was hoping that funds with a golden heart could join forces together with me and we could contribute things to the needy. So the first assignment I had was like 8 weeks ago. We distributed some food to over 25 families in Vikwatani 001. And it turned out well. We could see the smile on their faces and the gratitude. That just made me feel like we really need to reach out to more people in different areas. So after that, I was called upon Hope for Hope's Children's Center in Likoni. It's a children's home, and courtesy of this time, not many investors are pulling in money for them. So they approached me, and I felt like, okay, Golden Hearts, guys, can we again combine forces? We help these kids. So that was like 3 weeks ago. We did that. And it was really successful. You know, children, you see, me, I have children.
Yeah.
I can't imagine children lacking something to eat just because I'm seated. So I feel like it's a call to everybody out there that when you see guys calling out for a foundation or for some funds to come in, please just donate. Please donate whatever it is, even if it is maize from your farm or whatever it is,
Just
even
do
clothes.
something.
Send something, because there are needy people out here and they need you and me. Yeah.
All right.
So that was Golden Hearts Foundation.
Okay, wow, that's beautiful, Tiara, because you know that just means that besides you doing music, besides you being an artist, you're also doing something for the community, for the society.
Actually, the motherhood thing really pulls me to that direction.
This now brings that whole idea of motherhood made you feel like more responsible. Okay, now
Yes.
now we understand it better when you say that. Okay, now I don't want us to wrap up before you talk to us about this song, your song Mabobe, because that's a song that we will be playing. So
Oh.
yeah, so I want you
Say
to talk
Mabobe. Mabobe.
Mabobe.
Yes.
Oh,
Mabobe.
sorry, I did it very. Okay, so I did it wrongly.
Yes. you
Okay,
said
educate me
Mabobe.
then. How is it?
Mabobe.
Mabobe.
No, you say with a little bit of Mabobe.
Mabobe.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it, Doreen.
Okay, tell us a bit about that.
Mabobe was actually inspired by, you know, I made my great German love through Facebook.
Yeah?
And when I met him, it was
So there's actually love on
Facebook.
social
I don't want to
media.
call it love at first sight. Love on Facebook. You know, I don't know how relevant that is. I don't know how
Let's
that really
just keep it at that. Love on Facebook.
Yes. So when he came, before he even came, he just said, I liked your political views when you would share them on Facebook. And that's why I added you as a friend and I said hi. So I saw this great looking guy, but I was not so sure if it was one of those fake accounts. But since he said hi, I was like, I have nothing to lose. Let me just say hi. So I said hi, and he made an appointment with me. I told him I'm less kind of busy on Mondays. So he called me. And when he called me, that was love instantly on Facebook.
So that was it?
Yes.
So that was
and he asked me, go ahead and do a song. Go ahead and do a song for me. You're feeling this vibe? So, and that was even before he met me. So I hit the studio and I decided, huyu ndio chizi wa mapenzi. Actually, Mobowe means chizi wa mapenzi.
Okay.
So I went
All
that
right.
way. And I got Teddy B on the track. I got Sarkozy, the musical director. I got a whole band playing
And
this
that
thing
is
live.
what birthed the song.
Yes, that
Okay.
is how we merged everything. And that is Mobobe.
All right, fair enough, T. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I want us to wrap with your latest song, but I just want to appreciate your time talking to us about your own personal journey.
Thank you so much, Doreen.
Yeah, really appreciate it. So that was Tierra G, you know, an artist talking to us about her own musical journey, her own personal experience. And on that note, we want to wrap Good Morning Kenya this Thursday morning. And as usual, from me and on behalf of the entire team that made the show a success, we say thank you so much for watching. Till next week, have a beautiful Monday. Have a beautiful Thursday morning. So I leave you with Mabobe, right? Mabobe from Tierra G. Enjoy.
I am the one to love you. I am the one to soothe you. My sherry, my baby, my shati, nishakuwa mabobe. My sherry, my shati, bolingo mabobe. Oh na na na, bolingo mabobe. Oh na na na, bolingo mabobe.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
She's different.
Not so bad.
Oh, you like her like that?
What do you expect from me? If she likes being this chirpy,
Mary Poppins.
whoever she is, it's fine with me.
Utamwogopesha.
I'm trying to juggle something in him.
Madimka wewe kwa wase wengi kuwa intimidating sana.
The one thing they all agree on is that you don't lie to someone with memory loss.
We weren't lying to her. We want her to figure things out on her
It's
own.
misleading her. We'll never get her back at this rate.
Confronting her with the past just freaks her out.
I know we used to fight over things, but I would rather have a good fight with the old Julia than spend even a minute with this one.
Oh my baby, replay, playing my favorite tune. Oh yeah, chance I'm ready your love. Oh, already your love. My chérie, hata nafasi na sana yo, baby, my honey.
Tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby, now we are two in one. We are two in one.
Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Mguu pande panda milima. Aoye izungushie hapo ma. Kama una
Ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Next on.
Ethiopia is here.
That baby is annoying and she just can't stop.
Natafuta job.
Job gani?
Yoyote as long as nalipwa. So what would be your expectations if I hired you? Me and your family are not in the same social class.
Well, yeah, ni pilot.
Oh, really? Your mom is very schemy. How so? What do you think, Jazz? It's Nancy we're talking about. Hi. I mean...
Yote ndawai do iko tu sawa kwa macho yako.
Unataka kuwako?
Ati nini? Why are you people shouting?
Are you okay?
Mwanamke wewe ninakuona sana. Ni wanaume hapa Mombasa wameishi.
Nowadays we have so many unfaithful people.
What? Need to talk about her every time we are together.
And be very careful the way you address me.
Zako zinakuangaje? Huwezi kaa dakika mbili hata bila kuteta.
You will all sign new contracts.
And I am supposed to be briefed.
What? Taki ujinga.
Oof.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I hope that was a rhetorical question, Margot. We don't have time to waste today.
Hey, Atito, and who do you think you are to talk to fellow students like that?
I can talk to you idiots the way I please. I am now in charge.
Teacher, what are those? What do you mean, what are those? I've taught this many times, I kind of lost count.
Hey, Mr. Teacher, maybe you taught that on another class.
Nonsense inside that trouser. You think you can put us around as you please?
Ne, Atito Japuru. We copy exams together always. No, you think you can teach us what exactly?
You know, you're so full of yourself, you know that? Huh? This hard head of yours is going to be your downfall.
And now you are talking.
Yes, I'm talking, and it's regression, not regression.
Next on.
Unapata wanawake wengi kwa sasa ni ngumu sana kupata makazi ama ni ngumu sana kuruhusiwa kwenda kufanya makazi. Mwanamke akiolewa unapata ni ngumu sana mume wake kumpa ruhusa